Good evening, traders. Good evening. I hope you are well and I hope you're having a fantastic and a really wonderful evening. Welcome to the MGR Stock Index Trading. This is our very first video, and this is of course one of many videos that we have and one of many companies that we have with regard to trading within the financial markets. We've got Forex, cryptocurrencies, stocks, commodities, synthetics. We have almost everything that we are covering over the course over the entire financial industry. Aside from that, today's video, we're going to find ourselves focusing primarily on stock indices. This is your NASDAQ, US30, Dow Jones, of course, Germany 30, Germany 40, all the stock indexes that we can find ourselves trading as a retail trader. And that is what I'll be finding myself breaking down for you all live 2026. We definitely find ourselves going ahead and live streaming so we can live trade together. Aside from that, we will be looking forward to going ahead and finding ourselves breaking down NASDAQ and US30 over the course of this evening. So let's find myself going ahead and changing over to my chart. And right now what I have is NASDAQ right over here. Alright, what I see and what we'll be doing, we'll be implementing a scalping method. This method we use primarily on the 1 minute time frame, and on the 1 minute time frame, what we find ourselves doing, I want to highlight the fact that we are currently, it is currently 9 p.m. and it is the 30th of December. Now of course, volume and volatility over the course of this period is going to be at the all-time low. There's not going to be much, there won't be enough volatility for us to even find ourselves a scalping opportunity over the course of this session. If we do it, that would be fantastic, but if we do not, again, that is something that we simply have to find ourselves navigating. Aside from that, what we're going to do is we're going to place a vertical line on 8 p.m. Upon 8 p.m, we then going to find ourselves, let's make it 7 p.m. On 7 p.m, it'll be an hour before 8 p.m, and we'll place another vertical line on 9 p.m. What we are looking for is a liquidation of a low for price to find itself having a turning point. Thereafter, we're looking for an imbalance to see if price will then potentially move within that direction. What I find on my end is the fact that we have a wonderful liquidation of this low. With that being the case, we're now looking for an imbalance and a retest upon that imbalance for price to have a run towards the upside. That is the idea behind this method of trading. And as you can see, we certainly find ourselves having that particular retracement into our area that we're looking at, and we'll then be looking at placing the lows, the stop loss below the low that was created previously within this time period, and we're now looking for a run towards the upside with at least a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. Aside from that, that's usually what we're looking at when it comes down to this. We now have tapped the entry, and this is on NASDAQ. So we'll be patiently waiting to see how price will react to our entry and how we will find ourselves running towards the upside, hopefully hitting that take profit, and if not, then we'll simply hit a stop loss in that regard. Aside from that, I will move over towards US30. Let's have a look and see what Dow Jones has on the platter, and let's see how we can find ourselves navigating and how we can find ourselves trading over the course of that. There has been a tremendous amount of news events being released over the course of today that certainly have a massive impact on trading. It has a massive impact on this particular stock index. I mean, as we all know, the geopolitical events happening around the world is certainly being orchestrated and certainly really been highlighted within the US, and as a result there will be a heightened volatility, which is beneficial to us as well if we know exactly how to take advantage of it. At the same time, if we are simply more so nonchalant about it, if we simply aren't going to be taking note, then we are not going to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented to us in this particular market. Looking at this, gold has been moving quite lovely over the course of the day. It certainly has been quite bearish, but of course we're not here to speak about gold. just been released right now at 9 p.m. It says here that the US dollar index holds the gains after the Fed minutes and is currently up 0.21% at around 98.21. That of course is the dollar index that assesses the strength of the dollar in relation to the strength of other currencies as well. You also have the Euro index, pound index. There are quite a number of currency indexes that certainly find itself impacting the valuations of US stock indices and the valuation of the US dollar as well. Moving on, we are looking for a potential liquidation of a low. Generally, we do want to find ourselves moving in tandem with NASDAQ when it comes down to US30, but unfortunately on our side, there has been at the moment no liquidation of no low at present. The closest one we had was this over here, but sadly we are looking more towards a respect rather than an actual liquidation. It is imperative that we find that it actually that prices in a region below this low. That is what we are looking for, but we simply have to be patient and wait for it as time goes on. Alright, this is US30. We can look at the S&P, and I'll be patient to see exactly how that's going to find itself playing out. I will find myself breaking down perhaps the New York session and the London session, instead of finding myself going ahead and breaking down only Tokyo. I mean, this is the time where price moves the slowest throughout the entire day, so there's no real reason for me to go ahead and break down this particular pair. But I am aware that most of my viewers, especially with the MGR Forex Trading account on YouTube, they only find themselves being available towards the evening side. So yeah, I might be able to live stream in the morning or perhaps sometimes in the afternoon, late afternoon side. And I notice that my traders or my viewers find themselves not being available at that time. So the best time available is and happens to be at around also the evening side, 7-8 p.m. And that's exactly where I want to find myself, being able to conduct these live streams or these pre-recorded videos so that you are able to benefit from them at the best time that you guys are available, and also at the best time that I am available without me being inundated with my own commitments. But aside from that, looking at a little bit of more news that I see from the Fed minutes, it says that some participants suggested under the economic outlook that it would be likely be appropriate to leave rates unchanged for some time after the December cut. So that will definitely be very, very interesting coming close into the 2026 financial quarter one, to see how exactly the price will play itself out in accordance with all the US based and quoted asset pairs. So it will definitely be very interesting. It'll be something that we'll be looking forward to seeing, and hopefully we'll see a nice, lovely continuation of the bullish run that we've been experiencing over the course of 2024 and 2025. It would definitely be great to see another continuation bull run, but as you all know, that nothing goes up forever. No asset pair, no asset class can simply find itself continuously rising significantly year on year without having some form of correction. So we are anticipating a correction. The only question is, when will this correction occur and how significant will it be as well? That is something to be cognizant of. Aside from that, I know that within 2 years' time, I might be getting ahead of myself at the moment, but I know that within 2 years' time it will be the US presidential elections. This means that, again, another set of political events that's going to provide some political uncertainty over the course of the next couple of years. So hopefully we will continue to see a nice, lovely continuation run up until that time. And yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to actually anticipate and see what's going to happen over the course of those few years. But alright, aside from that, I'm looking at my news. What exactly do I have on my side? I mainly have some Fed minutes. It appears that the Fed minutes was released sometime today, I think. And if it was, then yeah, majority of my news that I'm seeing on my side is definitely going ahead with regards to that. Let's have a look at stocks. Let's see what stocks has to offer. Okay, let's have a report on the European stock market. This is the closing report, which was released at 25 minutes past 8 South African Standard Time, which is UTC +2, Universal Time +2, and the ASML rises nearly 1.3%. German SAP falls around 12% for the year on Tuesday, December 30th, and ASML holding rose 1.28% over the course of the day, which is not too bad. LVMH Group, Sanofi, L'Oreal, GlaxoSmithKline, Roche, and AstraZeneca rose by a maximum of 0.92%. Nestle closed flat, Novartis fell 0.27%, and Novo Nordisk fell 0.76%. German S&P fell 0.05% to 208.35 pennies, I believe that would be pounds, with euros, with a cumulative decline of nearly 11.83% by 2025. And that is the German SAP. That's very, very unfortunate. I know they are having their own little bit of economic challenges within their own economies, but I mean, for the entire year to be closing nearly 11.83%, that's a massive decline. Alright, here we are. We have certainly smacked and liquidated our lovely low over here. We now need to be patient and wait for a change in market structure, or also known as an imbalance, to occur, so we can see some bullish volume and a nice respect of this level, which also indicates that we're going to find ourselves placing a long opportunity with a stop loss below this particular low right over here. And we'll see how price plays out. Of course, this is not the initial buy. We still have to wait for an imbalance and a retest within the imbalance to validate our entry. Up until that time, we simply have to be patient and wait for price to open itself up for a lovely opportunity in that regard. Okay, aside from that would be US30. I think we're running a bit of drawdown here in NASDAQ, or not. We're actually having a nice beautiful run towards the upside. So it appears that NASDAQ is now the leading, it's leading on US30. So of course this is quite a strong move towards the upside, which is an indication that US30 should also find itself moving in tandem a couple of minutes after NASDAQ. Hopefully it'll be quite soon. Yeah, hopefully it'll be quite soon, and we'll take it from there. Aside from that, that will be NASDAQ. Let's have a look at SA40. This is actually one of my most favorite pairs. SA40. This is the South African top 40 index, listed on the JSE. This, of course, is the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and with this being the case, this is perhaps one of the most wonderful pairs to find itself trading. Of course, we are based in Cape Town, South Africa, so this is a very, very big and important asset pair for us to find ourselves trading, to determine, you know, how exactly are the top 40 stocks within South Africa performing. And all I can say for the fact that for the year of 2025, the performance has been extraordinary. I'm just going to find myself removing this indicator, hiding the indicator, so that we can actually have a clear view on what occurred over the course of 2025. And you would notice that we started 2025 at around, what price is 75,000, and we have closed right above at 108,000. I mean, that is in and of itself easily a 25% increase over the course of this year alone. That is extraordinary. That is really wonderful. I mean, if yeah, really amazing. The downside that I have with this is the fact that we simply moved towards new record highs quite aggressively. And as you may know, that you can see over the course of the many years, 10 years ago, every single run towards the upside has always been coupled with a correction, with a retracement from a technical perspective. Well, this being the case, the only real correction was a lovely long wick thrown towards the downside in April Aside from that, we've simply been seeing new record highs being broken month after month for the year of 2025. What does this mean for the South African economy? It means that it is doing very, very well, but it's mainly, I would argue, and I'd mention, is mainly based upon debt. It's quite a massive debt bubble, and again, everything that moves towards the upside has to find itself correcting. And yeah, if we simply run a Fibonacci retracement tool on this particular asset pair, I mean, I'd argue, so this was the actual starting point. That was the actual correction. Will we find ourselves seeing a retracement back into the 85,000 level over the course of 2026? That is something that could actually occur. Will it happen? Honestly, we have no clue. One thing I would like to highlight is the fact that it is December, and obviously moving from quarter 4 to quarter 1 in the new year, there's usually not any rate hikes or anything that normally negatively impacts any stocks over the course of the time period. It's normally towards quarter 2 and quarter 3 that we actually find ourselves having some rate hikes and some economic uncertainty over the course of that period. Aside from that, that is what we have on SA40. I mean, I can't really analyze this pair because of course it's closed. It only opens up at 8:30 in the morning or 9 a.m. in the morning. Not actually much that we can find ourselves doing over the course of that period, but let's actually analyze this from a technical perspective. Normally, let's look at New York session. This of course is 4 p.m. at 5, which this time period closes. Not really much we can actually do in that regard, but let's look at, okay, let's actually break down London session, since if we're going to try and break down that particular session, it's just not going to work out. Let's look at London session, and with London session, I would like, I can't even go an hour before this really, but I'll do my best here. Do that. And let's look over here, 10 a.m. We're now looking for a liquidation of a level, which we find right over there. Liquidation of a level over here. We have liquidation over here. Downside is there's no real low, so that can't actually be seen as a level of liquidation because there's no low below that. That was the lowest low at the time period. This would be the level of liquidation because there's a low here, but we liquidated this low as well. Best option is going to be this level here. I say that because there has to be a lower low for you to place a stop loss. This, yes, in theory is correct, but yeah, it's not correct. Not according to the method of trading. Alright, that looks a bit better. Alright, that's a lot. There we go. Why have we selected this low instead of the previous lows over here? So first and foremost, this was known as, according to the Wyckoff market analysis or market theory, when prices is in a downtrend, it makes lower lows or creates lower lows and lower highs. A lower low is when price is at the lowest point that it can be within that market move towards the downside, and a lower high is when price corrects itself towards the upside. So this would be your lower low, and this would be your lower high. Then liquidate this low, creating a new lower low, pulling up, creating a lower high, pulling down, failure to create another lower low, but we then corrected itself again. That's a failure low, and we then create a lower low thereafter. What do we do in this scenario? In theory, if this level over here was liquidated, but there was still a respect, of this level of support, or of this lower low turned level of support, also known as an equal low being created over there, we then are able to then look for a long opportunity. But again, what is our entry criteria for a long or a short opportunity, for a buy or a sell? it is a fact that we need to wait for a imbalance to occur and a retest within that imbalance before we have a run towards the upside. That could find itself, that's what we need to look for. That's the wrong choice of words there. It could find itself, no, that's exactly what you have to be looking for. We then find this massive imbalance occurring over here, and price of course taps within this level of imbalance, and in doing so we look for another imbalance over there. But the reason as to why I did not feel comfortable entering on this level over here was simply because you want to see a respect, not a liquidation of this wick. We don't want price to find itself moving any lower than this. This should be the lowest point. If we were to place a long anywhere along here, we have to now encompass this particular lower high, which in my opinion is not preferable. If we go according to the textbook setup, which we found itself happening over here, this was then the low that was created, this was the low that was liquidated, and we have now this level over here acting as your lower low, acting as your level of support. And if price breaks this level low, it's going to continue further towards the downside because there is no level or any barrier holding it from running towards the downside. And that is why I prefer the entry on this region over here and not the other one at around just at market open. Not to mention the market open is exceptionally volatile. So if you are trading market open, you normally don't exactly want to have a position running over from the previous evening, as spread can find itself nicking your stop loss. There's many different things that could potentially go wrong. There can be gaps. To avoid that, you always want to find yourself ideally trading after market open. But okay, all's well that ends well, and we had a wonderful opportunity that we took on SA40. Great pair. The only problem that I actually have with this is the fact that not many brokerages, internationally speaking, not many international brokerages actually offer SA40 as a pair to trade as a retail trader. In fact, I'd argue and say that the only brokerage that actually offers this is XM. There are a handful of others. I think Trade, IG Markets, Interactive Brokerages. Those are the only four that I can name off the top of my head that I know for a fact offer SA40. Many others simply don't. So it's quite a, I wouldn't say an exotic pair, but it's definitely an uncommon pair. An uncommon stock index to actually find yourself trading. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, it's a wonderful pair, as mentioned. It does have a bit odd market hours, especially if you are perhaps more of an international trader, if you're perhaps on stationed in South Africa, if you're somewhere else in the world, US, Europe, New Zealand, wherever you may be. It can be a bit odd to trade, as the time period on your side might not exactly correspond to the best trading hours wherever you may be stationed internationally. But yeah, aside from that, that's usually what SA40 is all about. I actually want to head back to US30, knowing that we actually have a potential opportunity that could be capitalized on over there. We ran a bit of drawdown at the moment, but we're still chilling. That's such a wrong word to say, chilling, but yeah, we're still somewhat finding ourselves. There we are tapping the imbalance that actually occurred, and our entry is now valid at this level right over here. We're quite bearish though, if I'm being honest with you. I think I'd feel more comfortable breaking this descending trend line before we're actually looking for an entry. Don't look bullish whatsoever, but at the same time, that imbalance that we actually had, price closed below that is now invalid, so we have to be patient. There was an imbalance over here if you look carefully, but we closed right below him, and now we are closing right above him. Best option in this regard is simply just be patient, just wait. Yeah, there's no need to find yourself being too aggressive when looking for an entry. Just be patient, the opportunity will open itself up to you. Check out NASDAQ. Hopefully NASDAQ is fighting the good fight, and I guess it's not. Now hovering somewhere in the middle. Hopefully we can see some good price action occurring very, very soon. Okay, aside from that, let's go ahead and check out Germany 30 EUR. Let's go with the E30 EUR. The platform that I'm using, we should all know exactly what it is. I think I'll have it linked in my description as well. It is Core Trading View. It's a platform that I use to analyze my asset pairs. It gives you a nice clean overview with regard to your analysis. So it really is quite a wonderful platform to use. You can use many others. There are C-Traded, DX-Trade, what others are there? MetaTrader 5 and 4, we all know of that. And there is another one, but I can't match trader. There's quite a number of trading platforms that you can find yourself utilizing. For me personally, I simply prefer to analyze on TradingView and execute my positions on MetaTrader 5 and 4. Usually I use 5 because 4 tends to freeze every now and again, especially during highly volatile sessions. The New York session, news event releases, it tends to freeze generally. Of course, again, it does depend on your brokerage, but I've experienced the most platform freezes. So that is definitely a concern that I had to address, and I addressed that by upgrading to MetaTrader 5. So that is exactly how what I found myself doing to accommodate for that platform freezes. But yeah, aside from that, there is a number of news events that has been released over the course of today, and I think that is that. But yeah, that is stock indices. I think we certainly are still with NASDAQ at the moment. And with NASDAQ, let me adjust myself so I can just type in NASDAQ and see what's happening over here. Having quite a nice market downturn. That's alright. And we simply have to be patient. We simply have to hold the position and wait until price perhaps has a nice change in market structure. Until then, we will be patient and we will wait. And that's trading for you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. That is trading. That is how we trade. That's what we do, and how we go about and found ourselves churning out money from this financial market as a retail trader. But alright, aside from that, I think I'm going to find myself ending this particular recording, and doing so, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been great, and of course I'm going to catch you all tomorrow evening, same time, same place, 7 p.m. and we'll be breaking down. It is going to be Wednesday, the 31st of December, and we'll be breaking down commodities. So commodities is namely going to be gold, silver. Those are normally the two main commodities that I find myself trading, but we can eventually dive deeper into cotton, into the more agricultural assets. Those also fall under commodities. And aside from that, we can look at palladium, platinum, copper, etc. But usually the main pairs we actually trade, especially at MGR Forex Trading, we trade gold and silver. Those are the two main asset pairs that we actually trade, and of course the foreign exchange pairs as well. But gold and silver are definitely the two main pairs that we enjoy trading. So if you have not subscribed as of yet, MGR Commodities Trading on YouTube, we'll be breaking down gold and silver, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing you there. Aside from that, traders, have a wonderful evening, keep well, keep safe, and I'll catch you all in the very next live stream. Cheers guys, have a good one.